Hi, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, I want to take you on a full tour of this gaming table, which was supplied to us by the folks at GeekNSon. I've had a chance now to use this table for several months, so I feel like I can confidently and competently speak about its features. But before I do, there's two things that I want to make very clear. First of all, while I'm not being paid for this video, the table itself was supplied to us by GeekNSon for use on this show, and it's not inexpensive, so you can and should think of this as its own form of compensation. Also, I really like this table. It's quite a step up from the one I was using before, so I certainly have that bias going into this, but my hope here is that I'm going to give you such a thorough examination of the product itself and its features that if you're considering picking up one of these tables yourself, you'll find this information very meaningful. So with that in mind, let's quite literally go to the table and take a look. The GeekNSon product line offers a catalog of various table styles, chairs, benches, and accessories, but what you're going to see here is known as their Denis Table, which you can also get in a variety of different sizes. The one I have here, going by the outside edges, runs 3 feet 7 inches wide and 5 feet 11 inches long, and it has a 3-inch drop-down vault. And we'll look at this layer in just a moment, but first I want to point out that this can be pulled out of the table entirely using these tabs, and it will reveal an acrylic layer underneath. So let me just move this out of the way and I'll show you what I mean. The table comes with one of these included suction cups that you can then use to very easily lift up this acrylic layer, and then underneath you can slide a map for a game that you're playing. Perhaps for an ongoing role-playing game, or as I've done here, for a miniatures game that has a paper mat that you just don't want sliding around as you're moving the different pieces on top of it. As well, this surface itself can be written on or wiped off if you're using dry erase markers for notes and drawings. If you're playing a game that doesn't have interlocking tiles like Memoir 44 or Battlelore 2nd Edition like I've set up here, this acrylic mat is especially useful because it holds your tiles in place rather than them shifting around every time you move pieces or someone bumps the table. But let me clear all this off and I'll put the main insert back in place. I should mention you can actually have this layer made double-sided. So for example, I chose black for one side when I want something very neutral, but I can flip this over to where I picked out a blue shade for when I'd like a splash of color, and there's lots of other color options that you can choose from. This area inside the table is known as the vault, and as I mentioned earlier, it's about 3 inches deep, providing you with a spacious area to play your games in. And with these raised edges, if you're like me and have a few people in your life who can be clumsy with the dice, you'll appreciate that they'll keep everything contained within the play area. Additionally, there are rails that go all the way around the inside top edge of the table that can double as card holders, freeing up your hands as you play, which I quite enjoy using. You can also have optional LED lighting installed, like I have here, along both of the long edges, and these are powered by a cord that plugs into the bottom of the table. And then you can use the included remote to control how the light is displayed. For example, with a swipe of my finger here, I can change what the color is, or I can lower or increase the intensity, and there's a variety of other effects like strobes and gradual color changes. Really, the options here are pretty infinite. This isn't just meant to be a gaming table though, but also a functional piece of your living space. The table has these leaves that you install by dropping them one at a time into the upper area. Now I have a space in my room nearby to store these, but there's also optional leaf storage you can get with your table to slide them just underneath into a narrow shelf. These leaves can be cut to either go lengthwise or widthwise, as I have them here, and as I'm putting them into place, you'll notice we're converting this gaming table into a standard table for any living space. And because of this drop-down area, we can leave a game set up underneath to come back to when we're ready. You can even just cover half of the table and maybe use this space for a meal or other purpose while still having this open so people can continue playing games. You can also pick up this separate straight piece, which you'll slide into here, and that means that if you're playing games and rolling dice, you don't have to worry about things going underneath where it's a little harder to find them. As you can see, once it's completely covered, you wouldn't even know that it is a gaming table. They've really designed it so it can fit seamlessly into any living space that you put it. They've even gone so far as to build into it a waterproofing system. So let's say someone poured milk all over the top of the table. Rather than that leaking through onto the games underneath, the liquid is directed to the outside edges where there's a gutter system to drip it out onto the floor where you can clean it up rather than ruin your game. To help get your table looking the way that you want it, there are a couple of different wood types to choose from, as well as a variety of different stain colors. And if I remember correctly, the stain on this table is the Walnut G106. I should also mention you can get a custom inset. This is something that would fit in place of the leaves as a single piece wrapped in gaming fabric, sitting flush with the top of the table, giving you another gaming surface to use. If you've seen my tutorial videos, I use something like that, which I had custom made locally, but that you can get directly from GeekNSon if you want. Once you're ready to remove the leaves from the table, it's very simple. There's a knob under this end here, which you just push up on, and that will allow you to remove this leaf. Then the other ones you can slide out one at a time as you put them in. But beyond the core features of the table itself, there's also some accessories you can pick up. Let's take a look at those right now. There's a rail system along the whole outside edge of the table, allowing you to position these cup holder accessories anywhere you like. And these will be able to hold mugs, bottles, glasses, or whatever drink of choice you might like. And it has a cork bottom to help contain any condensation. You can also get wine holders like this, which will secure your drink against spills when you're not holding it. Beyond drinks, you can also get wooden trays like this for holding tokens, cubes, dice, or whatever you might need, or larger bins for holding more items. I particularly like these because they help declutter the main playing area. You can also get acrylic bins like this, which will attach to the inside of the table as well as the outside. There's also a couple different types of shelves you can get for the outside edge. This one here just has a flat surface and a storage area underneath, maybe to store rule books or other documents. And here we have one where the top actually lifts up. So you might have a player sheet in this area with a pencil, and then you could put maybe a role-playing Dungeon Master's guide here, or anything else that you might be using. Again, even just a rule book for a board game that you're learning or teaching. You can also get dice towers and chairs and other accessories, and all of that and more can be found at the GeekNSon website, which I'll link to in the description below. I encourage you to check out this site to see the various products and prices, keeping in mind that while they are based in Europe, they also have centers in the US and Canada for shipping to those countries as well. I should mention, when your table arrives, you'll want to give yourself some time to put it together, not because there's a lot of assembly, but because all the individual parts are very carefully and thoroughly wrapped to protect it during transportation. In fact, when it arrived at my house, it was just me and the delivery person, and my driveway was a sheet of ice, and the box was too heavy for the two of us to carry in. I was a little nervous about potentially dropping it, so instead we just opened it on the truck and then brought the individual pieces in one by one. But if you had a couple of people with you, it wouldn't be difficult to move the box into your home and just unpack it there. As for the assembly, the only thing that's not attached when you get it are the lags. So you'll want to flip the table over and then put the lags into position. There's a couple of bolts and just nuts that you tighten. Now the space where you have to tighten those nuts is a little bit snug, so you might want someone with smaller hands to get it started, but otherwise that's it. You just tighten those and the tables together. You might want a second person with you as well, just to flip the table back over. And then you just drop all the pieces in that you saw me moving around in this video. For all of the details about how to order one of these tables or to get pricing, if you have questions about shipping or possible customs charges or anything like that, I would just direct you to the GeekNSon website because, of course, they're going to have the most up-to-date information. But as I leave you, I just want to mention again how much I really like this table. I've done my best to try to keep this presentation as factual as possible, and one thing I can't really demonstrate is just the quality of the construction, how solid this is, but I would want to mention that as well. Nothing about this feels cheap, and I think that's important because clearly for a lot of people this would be considered a luxury item. You know, it's got an expense attached to it, and that's something, of course, each individual would have to assess whether or not having something like this as the centerpiece of their gaming experience is something they'd want. And if it is something that you'd be interested in, then hopefully this video provides you with some good information. But either way, until the next episode, thanks for watching.